Space, the final frontier. Space Station Asselin sits on the edge of Federation space with its companion ship, the USS Dilamus Christian. The space around them is full of mystery and strange wonders, where secrets are kept and danger lurks around every corner. The crew of the Dilamus Christian must navigate treacherous waters as they work to protect the Federation. But as they peer into the unknown, they will discover that the line between friend and foe is not always clear. They will be tested like never before and will face challenges that will push them to their limits. Join us on this adventure as we explore the farthest reaches of space and uncover the hidden truths that lie within the shadows. Tabletop Journeys presents Star Trek: Preservations. Welcome back to our third act of Episode 5, Preservations Season 3. Hidden and Not Made Manifest is the name of the episode. I hope you guys appreciate the work that I put into the titles of these to go ahead and make them mean something as throughout the scope of the episode here. Being very ambiguous to begin and then eventually taking sense as the episode goes on. But last time around, we focused a lot on Rila and Tanari and their independent yet oddly related connections to something which is going on Asselin Station. I am always curious as to what conspiracy theories you think might be going on here. So I think just for grins, I'd like to start there tonight. Tanari, we'll go to you last because I'm sure that Tanari's got some wacky theory about what's going on here. But Captain Tobor, you haven't seen a lot of what's been going on here, but you had some very kind of key information. What is Tobor's read on what's currently going on?
After having seen the information about the Penumbra and Eben Thorne being Pritchard's code name and alias he used when I was Nerlina Tobor and working with him to develop the Epsilon protocol, I am instantly on guard for hijinks that are about to ensue. Perhaps even shenanigans.
Ooh. You think that there's going to be some good old-fashioned shenanigating here?
I believe so. And so, of course, as I attend the promotion ceremony, I'm going to keep an eye out for Captain Thorne. And then if he does not make an appearance, I will make my way to the Penumbra itself.
That is an interesting avenue of investigation. I like it. Narila, what do you think is going on here? What are you making of it?
I think it's quite peculiar that the experiments are going awry, but having very limited information and being a little naive. I think that may be odd and strange, but maybe not a reason to jump to conspiracy theories just yet. Yeah. But it is a little strange that Tanari has some interesting similar information.
And Lieutenant, what do you think is going on, sir?
First of all, it's Lieutenant Commander now.
Sorry, I was going by your title here on Zencaster. That's
so I do need to change that. Obviously, Tanari does not have the information that the captain and
that's actually a very fair point. Yeah,
Zilra has.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have all of it, but he is very suspicious about mysterious programs showing up in the computer that do things they're not supposed to do. And considering he is already very suspicious and not particularly well inclined towards the RAC, he's wondering if maybe this is some sort of spyware that's placed in the computer.
I like it. Yeah.
Also, maybe that there may be factions within the Federation itself that may be working at cross purposes to each other.
Yeah. Yep. I like it. Certainly, there are many possibilities here, but I have no doubt that Tanari is thinking that this could be any number one of deep-rooted conspiratorial hijinks. Not like the cheeky and fun shenanigans, but yeah. So let's go to the promotion ceremony proper itself. Captain Tobor, you will be in the spotlight here for this one, because you're the only one that was invited to the promotion ceremony from the crew of the Dilamus Christian. You will notice that the only other ones in the room were also the vessel captains that are within the regional command group.
Is that common? Like in my Starfleet protocol experience, that doesn't seem to be super common.
I wouldn't think that it would be super common because normally these things are big deals, right? So for someone to go ahead and receive their fifth pip is a big deal. Fleet captains are not used all the time. And so it's a little bit unusual that a captain being promoted to take over a command group like this is not being made an admiral. But yeah, it would be a big deal for most people. And if you'd like to go down that path, I'm happy to go ahead and let you. I can think of several avenues to investigate that if you would like. How?
Essentially, there's always that junior officer tier that is in the know and hears things,
Sure.
the rumor mill, the communications officers,
Yeah.
the logistical supply guy that you always bring back a nice bottle of saurian brandy
Yeah,
for when
yeah,
your
yeah.
ship somehow manages to get the repair parts it
I
needs.
I think that's a fabulous idea. Would you like just do a naked momentum spend to create that person, or do you want to roll and see if you can butter somebody up? It wouldn't be super complicated.
Yeah, either I could do a 2 difficulty roll to create the advantage, or
Yeah.
I forget how much momentum do we have?
You have 3 momentum right now, and I have boatloads of threads.
Got it. You know what? I'll just go ahead and spend the 2 momentum. It's the not Cation, but the other one, the comms officer, who we're always on the comms horn with.
So, any particular comms officer that you'd be looking? Oh, so let's see. It'd be the comms officer on the marathon. Is that what
No,
you're
no,
looking for?
comms officer at Asselin Station,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the Cation who we talk to
Let's,
frequently, back and
yeah.
forth.
Let's see. The comms officer on Asselin Station. So you spent the momentum basically to allow them to interact with you in a way that is positive. They're like a low-level NPC now for you, and so basically your intention is to go ahead and see
Yeah,
why this is happening. Yeah,
I catch them in the not quirks,
sure. Yeah,
the
yeah,
Quayarks,
yeah.
the like
Qu-
knockoff,
yeah.
like
Quirks. Yeah, that's something. Yeah. So,
quirks with an I.
yeah, quickies or something, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So they would let you know that very much comes from Captain Terreo himself. He is a very stoic, no fanfare, no frill captain. And he did not want a big affair for this. And it was one of those things that the regional operational command, you feel like there's some sort of a handshake going on there with kind of his view on it, that he was a no frills, very simple, very by the book. Things are very kind of straight laced, and their intention to go ahead and try to change some of the culture in the regional command group here, where Pritchard was at least perceived in retrospect to be a loose cannon. The decision to go ahead and have a very small affair comes directly from Captain Terreo himself.
Excellent. I thank him for that. And oh yeah, I got this bottle of saurian brandy. Just so happened
Just
to
favorite
it needs to be
vintage.
drunk, and I don't have as many opportunities now.
Right, fair. Yeah. You're on station now, so certainly you could go ahead and enjoy a glass with me. That'd be acceptable.
I would love to, perhaps after the ceremony.
See, there you go. You were
See,
learning.
I would if I showed up drunk. I don't want to give them any more reason to hate me and Pritchard.
Yeah. If I can give you friendly observation, Captain,
Always.
yeah, I would. The reputation that the Dilamus Christian has because of their association with Pritchard may color some of your interactions. Just be careful.
Always. I appreciate you being my eyes and ears, though.
We hear things. It's so. I'm sure they'll be
Excellent.
very friendly to you.
To my face, yes, absolutely.
Expect them to keep a distance. Exactly right. Yeah. But
Excellent. I checked the invite as well when I head off. Is it again with the no frills thing? I assume it's standard uniforms, no dress whites.
correct. Yes,
Yeah.
standard uniforms are fine. Yep. No frill, no press, no family, no nothing.
All right.
Cool. So you head to the ceremonial room. Again, when you walk in, it's basically a well-proportioned, like small conference room, right? Because it only needs space for about a dozen people. And there are precious few sort of decorations or anything like that. Up at the front of the room is a Starfleet issue pedestal, and there are 2 or 3 seats up on the dais currently empty. And then the other captains that are in attendance are either currently milling about or they will be arriving within the next few minutes. So just to go over that. So it's Captain Schross from the Faraday, who's an Andorian, Captain Yolen from the Natalie Panic, Captain Jamal from the Sagan, who's also an Andorian, and then Captain Li Hua Mao from the Harrington, and Captain Torok, the Vulcan, from the Thalcora Ridge, are the other ships within the regional command group. Naturally, the Penumbra, their captain, is missing from attendance. Would you ask any of the other captains about that? Or, oh, I thought that there was another ship here, or anything like that? Would that be something that would come up, or would you keep that information to yourself?
I'd keep that to myself. So going back to the graphic that was sent,
Yes.
it looks that it's been copy and pasted over the Vulcan ship, right? Because there's only 6 captains, including Thorn and myself.
So the information about the Penumbra would have been added to the end of the official list of captains attending, of which the Vulcan ship would have been on the list. So that's so that was just that ship wasn't on the manifest when I made the graphic, so that's why that came about.
Got it. And then Li Hao Moi and Yolan are both humans.
Li Hao is a human. Captain Yolan is a Denobulan.
Denobulan. Okay. So I'll approach Captain Yolan and strike up a friendly conversation with him.
Yeah. Captain Yolan is, again, he's a Denobulan. He is red. He is well spoken. He is a very kind of steady hand at the helm captain, but very warm. He greets you warmly. Not sure that you have ever met before, in fact, as in probably here and there at different functions or whatever like that. But the Natalie Panic was added to the operation group after the Dilamus Christian was, as Pritchard was putting together the Rutledge group. If you remember correctly, the Natalie Panic was basically acquisitioned and added to the group to support the merchant runs for Damon Brazic. So that's basically their core function, is making sure that those shipment runs are safe and not taken over by Orion pirates and stuff like that. So, Captain Tobor, glad to see that you have been able to join us.
Yes, Captain Yolan. What's been on your reading list?
What hasn't been on my reading list? I've been pouring through some ancient Earth literature. Shakespeare, I believe, is the name. I've read some of his more famous things, but certainly he has written quite a few things. It's amazing.
And that it survived all these years, too.
Thank you for digitization from the 21st century. Just incredibly, very worthwhile effort that they went through to go ahead.
The redigitization, because there was that point in the history with they'd gone almost fully digital before the Third World War. And then, of course, that many EMP nuclear devices, it wasn't even so much the number of people that died instantly in the attacks, which was horrific, but
Sure.
the fallout and the damage to the electromagnetic infrastructure is what crippled Earth for the long period.
It's true. It's true. I guess I wasn't even so familiar with all of the difficulties that Earth had back then. It's ancient history now, of course, but
I make it a really interesting study because while the humanity is a fascinating subject when we get to the topic of the Vulcan Prime Directive and such, because if you think about it, like the odds and probability of a Vulcan science ship flying through the Earth solar system on the very day that the very first warp flight test was to occur seems odd to me.
yes.
Because we believe that creation of warp drive technology shows that a civilization has evolved to a certain point. But really, humanity was barely clawed itself back up from the ashes of their Third World War. And it was just this random experiment by a rogue professor trying to prove a theory in somewhere in the hinterlands of their northern continent, and just so happens to catch a Vulcan flying by, and they go down and initiate contact. And so I've always has fascinated me the ethics of using just warp technology as the one litmus test for whether or not a civilization is ready to be contacted and brought into the larger galactic universe.
You know what I have been reading lately, and that I really think that you would be fascinated by if you are interested in this area of topic. There's a book, there's Graeber and Wengrow, I believe is who wrote it, but it was called The Dawn of Everything, and it's very much tackling with that particular topic about how do we judge early civilizations and where do we draw the line between when a civilization is early and in their middle period and in their late technological period and all that sort of stuff, and how we try to go ahead and put everything into nice, neat little boxes in that way. way, but that there are so many civilizations throughout our galaxy and beyond that are just they evade the very nature of boxing. It's
Indeed, trying to put any civilization into a neat category does that civilization a great disservice.
cheers to that, sir.
Yes, I'm glad if another fellow historian understands how nuanced and complicated, and that the stories that get told are infinitesimally fewer than the stories that never got told.
There's another fascinating book that you must read. It's relatively recent. It's a treatise on espionage and how it played its hand through the Federation during the Dominion War, called The Ethics of Intelligence. I don't remember but it's relatively recent. Just came out within the last few years. But a fascinating look at some of the shady, sort of underhanded dealings that had to be done during the Dominion War.
Is that one from that T.J. Sloan fellow?
It could be. I don't remember I have it in my quarters on the ship.
I'm sure that I can find it on the computer archive. Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah. So
fascinating. I do not wish to monopolize your time, Captain.
No, I'm sure that we're getting started here shortly. I should probably take my seat.
Fascinating.
So pleasure as always, Tolbor. And he shakes your hand warmly. You notice that the other captains in the room, as the comms officer for Asselin Station had foretold, they're cordial, but certainly not as effervescent in talking about making small talk as Captain Yolen is. They're cordial. They recognize that captain to captain is fine, but they're not the effusive presence that Captain Yolen was. And within a few minutes after ending your conversation with Captain Yolen, you hear the bosun's whistle at the back door and a voice announcing that the Vice Admiral is on deck, and the Vice Admiral, who has been in control of the regional command, Vice Admiral Tovek, and with him is a Benzite, who you assume to be Captain Tereo, and he is wearing his standard uniform. He is wearing sort of the Dominion War era uniforms with the black and gray kind of with the red piping. An outdated model, but that seems to be the uniform style that he prefers. The Vice Admiral is in his kind of standard Vice Admiralty uniform, more traditional, like post-Dominion War, red kind of bodysuit sort of thing. And they walk up to the front. The Vice Admiral stands behind the podium and calls the room to attention, and all the captains, I'm assuming that you would also give your attention to the front.
Yep. Stand and come to attention.
All right. So the Admiral introduces himself as Vice Admiral Tovek. I'm not sure if I have ever met many of you face to face, but I am commander of the Regional Operational Command and acting station commander of Asselin Station. With the departure of Pritchard from Starfleet, we are making changes to the command structure of the command group, and that brings us here today. It is with the full confidence of Starfleet Command that we recognize a change in leadership. We will be promoting Jabak Tereu to the rank of fleet captain and will assume command of the battle group effective immediately. All captains and all ships within the battle group will report directly to Captain Tereu, who will then report in to me. And Captain Tereu stands up on the dais and he turns to the Vice Admiral. The Vice Admiral pins the additional pip onto his collar. It's like those like bar style pips, again from like Dominion War era. Pins the 5th pip onto his collar, and then the Vice Admiral turns and says, "For Fleet Captain Tereu," and applauds, blah, blah, blah. Do you join? Yeah. Okay, there you go. Yep. And then the Vice Admiral says that Captain Tereu will have some brief remarks. So Captain Tereu takes the podium. His voice is it's low, direct, it's unembellished. This is not a surprise given kind of everything that you have learned about him. His comments are very brief. They are not flowery. So he's how honored he is to take the command, how much he looks forward to working with all of the captains within the regional support group and establishing protocols and efficient chains of command to go ahead and ensure that everyone works together to peak understanding and peak efficiency so that we as an operational group can continue to support all of the work that the Federation is trying to do. And kind of the memorable bit of his speech is that this is not a celebration. This is an acknowledgement of duty. Command is not inherited. It is executed. I will not offer promises. I only offer clarity. Our orders here are real, our mission matters, and I expect the same precision from all of you that I demand from myself. Pritchard served with distinction, but he is no longer here, so we must move forward. We are no longer 7 ships. We are 1 fleet. Captains, you are dismissed. And he stands from the podium. What's your takeaway from his speech, Dobor?
My first takeaway is I wish I was a Beta Z.
Right.
But
This all seems
yeah,
fishy.
but unless you are going to let me roll an insight command roll, get those.
I'd be happy to go ahead and do that. Yeah, a 2 difficulty challenge. That sounds just fine.
Perfect.
There's 1 momentum left.
Yep. So I have diplomacy, Starfleet protocol, composure. One of those 3 focuses.
So what is it that you're looking for? Because that might help me answer.
I'm looking for kind of the diplomatic subtext. It's like there's the words, but what is the body language saying with that all?
Sure. Yep. Well, I think then diplomacy. If you're trying to look and see what he is saying by not saying it, or not saying by saying it, then I think diplomacy here would fit.
Perfect. Yeah. So I will spend up that momentum for a 3rd die.
I like it.
And I'm doing insight command, looking for 14 or less.
I was gonna say like an 18.
Not quite. But I do have a 3, a 12, and a 13, so I'll get 4 successes.
4 successes, so 2 momentum back. Excellent. Perfect. Yeah, as the first time probably seeing Captain Tereu, you understand now where everyone was coming from when they're like, yeah, this dude's by the book. Like, he is a person of few words. He is a person of little frill, and he is very direct. You definitely got that, and you had no feeling that he was anything other than absolutely genuine with his desire to lead in a way that is different and, in his opinion, better than you guys had been led previously. You found that the bit that he was talking about where he mentioned Pritchard by name a little unusual, but that kind of does seem to be the vibe anyway, that Starfleet Command is very much like bending over themselves to go ahead and say, Pritchard's not here, man. We got to move on. But they do keep hammering that point home that, like, no, he's gone. That book has closed. We're in a new book. And so you feel like that's just like an extension of the same line that Starfleet Command has been giving you guys, that like, we have to move on, and we have to move on in a very pronounced way. The other thing that you found interesting was his whole concept of that we're not 7 ships, we're 1 fleet. That's not really the way Pritchard ran it. Pritchard very much viewed you all as like individual chess pieces, that you're all off doing your own jobs. And so that was curious. I would imagine curious on what that actually means in terms of the real world. It does seem maybe a nice thought that you're not sure how that would actually be, like, how does that actually work, sort of thing. But you also feel like he believes it. Like, he is sincere about it. His desire to really focus in the battle group in a way that maybe is outside of Starfleet norm, but within the spirit of what Starfleet tries to do. The better Starfleet that Starfleet tries to be should function that way. And so it's almost a nod to like the idealism of Starfleet, where it's, you've got all these ships that we're all actually working together here. And if that means that I need this or you need that from me or whatever like that, that we should be working together, and we should be in really close communication about how all of us are functioning, as opposed to any sort of like cloak and dagger or any sort of obscurity. You think that there's probably going to be a wave of transparency, both expected and delivered.
I will be very interested to hear how he responds once I fully brief him on what has happened the last year and a half.
Yeah, he will be very interested in reading that report. Be absolutely sure to go ahead and make sure that that report gets sent to his yeoman so that he can begin perusing through it, because he is sure that there's lots of interesting material that has happened in the last year and a half.
And so that report mostly focuses on the Janoc and that entire other faction in Starfleet that's working counter to us.
Yep.
And its ties to the Sprazig and the weapon that nearly obliterated the station.
I see.
And
yeah.
like all that part.
All that jazz. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Let us make sure then that whatever is in that report that you are delivering to the fleet captain, make sure that we know. So obviously, you don't need to go ahead and write it all out, but if you give us the bullet points of this is this and this, and I think that it would also be interesting to go ahead and know specifically what you're not including there too. So if you're not including things like your run in with the galactic entity, if you're not including your run in with the Breen, that sort of thing, depending on what it is that you're including and not including, that would be very interesting to know. So
Pretty much the only things will be anything that's epsilon secured protocoled. So
Yep.
those encounters, especially the encounters with the Zunians
Yep.
that were off, and like the ruins stuff,
Yep.
and the ship we just pulled out of the Genesis planet,
Yep.
which is still parked in an undisclosed, unnamed star system.
Yeah.
That's where we had been,
Yeah.
and are going to get back to that eventually. I'm not going to let you cut off another plot
It's
thread that I don't get to
yeah,
investigate,
it's
because it
it
doesn't wrap itself up in a nice, easy bow.
dropped off out of Paint and Spray in Vice City. Is that
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, and then so after the sort of formal promotion ceremony, there's not like a glorified handshake line or anything like that. The fleet captain does make himself available if you for wish to meet him or anything like that, but there's not even really like refreshments brought in or anything like that. It's very much just like the thing is done. You've all been dismissed. If you want to mill, then mill. But there's no kind of there's not going to be like a big party. They're not going to party all night long or anything like that. He feels like he has work to do, and this is one of those things that has to be done as part of his work to be done, but it's really not the work that he would like to be doing.
Yeah, so my agenda items there are, I'm going to do the formal introductions to him
Of course.
and have that a by the book appropriate length, a small talk conversation with him.
Yep. Perfectly
Uh,
fine. Yep.
And then I'm going to take an opportunity to razz Captain Lee Ho Mao a little bit about my security team saving them from getting overrun during the Battle of Asselin Station. A little
Yep.
friendly captain to captain. It was sure nice that we had that big old Akira class ship sitting right there, disabled and unable to fight.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're very much trying to go ahead and razz him a little bit and try to go ahead and get a rise out of him, try to get him to laugh a little bit.
And
Yeah.
we've known each other for a while as well in the
Yeah.
group and everything. More, hey, I'm glad I was able to save your ass. I hope you save mine next time.
So the response that you're getting from him is weird, is unexpected. He is very much, oh yeah, no, you're totally, yeah, no, we've got you next time, Captain. It's just a little.
Cold.
It's a little frosty. It's less frosty, maybe more there's some sort of like a wall up in between, like a little bit. Like he seems like he doesn't want to engage too much, but yeah, oh yeah, buddy, I got you. Yeah. Meanwhile, he's gonna go ahead and turn around and keep talking to the wall that he was just talking to, or something like that. Like
He
it's kind
doesn't
of
want
like
to be seen talking to me too much.
exactly, maybe something like that, or even yeah. I think that would be a fair assessment.
Yeah. So I won't make it too long. I'll just be all like, yeah, keep
Yep.
your deflector shields up.
Yep. That's make sure you keep your transporters plugged in. That's
Right.
yeah, stuff like that. Yep.
And then briefly engage with Captain Tarok
Yep.
in a very Vulcan-esque manner.
Yep. Yeah, again, fairly typical Vulcan, very sharp, dry wit, also a veteran of the Dominion War. He's known for his mastery of tactics. He is atypically Vulcan in the regard that he is known for a keen, creative, tactical mind, that it's not just like, oh yes, I have 6 variations on this move that I can go ahead and do. He's known for creativity in battle, which seems to have saved his ass numerous times throughout the Dominion War. He also seems to be, again, like within the scope of his logic, there's like a quiet compassion for his crew. He really seems to value the work that they do on a daily basis. And you've read
It's
that about
only
him
logical
before, yeah.
to treat your crew with respect.
Yeah, and it's almost like it goes almost beyond respect. It's almost there's like a real admiration there. Like you can respect your crew, but he seems even like a step beyond that. And you think that it's probably related to his own sense of creativity, that he really values when his crew take it upon themselves to go ahead and think through different ways to tackle a given problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with him, I'm going to plant this conversational seed about the fleet captain's plan to be
Yep.
1 fleet instead of 7, and
Sure.
what does he think that's going to look like?
Well, Captain, I think that is a very unusual approach. I would suspect that captain to captain and probably XO to XO, that there would be a significant increase in the number of meetings and communiques back and forth about activities. I think that it will probably take some shaking out to figure out what that is going to look like, because I'm not totally sure. I think that it is an interesting proposition. It is a proposition which has been tried numerous times throughout various histories in other kind of fleet organizations, but it is often discarded as inefficient. I don't know about you, but I certainly do not need more meetings.
I could do. I've been alive 387 years at this point, and never once have I found a meeting to be more helpful than not.
Yeah. Wait, so you are not human?
I've got the trill spots. I'm
Oh,
like,
yep. Honestly, it was the lighting. I had not picked up on it.
oh, yes, no. And I don't advertise that I'm a joined trill. That my people generally tend to keep that not private per se, but it just does not generally come up unless it's inquired upon.
Fascinating.
Some of the younger species feel uncomfortable with the fact that my symbiote has been alive 10 times longer than they have.
Yeah, I can scarcely imagine the challenge of reconciling so many lifetimes of accumulated wisdoms into such spontaneous decision making.
It is a very interesting prospect because it is like a galactic constellation, and sometimes picking out the information that is relevant from the background noise can be more of a challenge than actually remembering the task at hand.
Hmm.
But it is
Um,
something I've grown accustomed to over 7 lifetimes.
I would imagine that there is some sort of efficiency to the emotional continuity, however, right? You probably understand more than the rest of us about what he's talking about the 7 ships and 1 fleet and everything like that. Aren't you, in fact, on some level, 7 captains?
No, all of my hosts had different professions and drives and passions. One of the tenets of the Trill people is that if you are joined, it is a moral, cultural imperative to enrich the symbiote's life by encouraging new and different experiences than they already have previously had. Again, I'm an exception too, since my previous host had been in Starfleet
Hmm.
immediately prior to this. And in fact, I had to receive special permission from my government in order to join back with another Starfleet officer.
Interesting. Who needs logic when one can simply consult a panel of prior selves with conflicting opinions and romantic entanglements, I assume?
Oh, well, fortunately, it's not quite as a board of directors. I would think it's more like I have memories
Hmm.
that exist that I can call back to
Or not call back to, as the
or not
situation
call back.
requires.
Yes.
Yeah. Your culture's reverence for accumulated experience is admirable.
I have found that Vulcans tend to share a similar drive towards accumulating experience.
Indeed. I will look forward to our meetings, which could have been emails, Captain.
Live long and prosper without the meetings.
So, or the read receipts.
Does he say that?
Yes.
I do like a half step pause and I do my best impersonation of the Vulcan eyebrow at him.
Yeah. He does his best impersonation of a human wry smile. It's very awkward. He does not do it well.
He goes,
Yeah.
do I get a sense that he's referring to the read receipt from the missive that Pritchard messed with? Because that was my half
No.
step.
Yeah,
Eyebrow.
that's a depends actually. You tell me. How conspiracy theory is Tobor feeling right now?
I've been hanging around with Tanari quite a bit.
You have been hanging around with Tanari quite a bit. You know what? Maybe you're not sure. Maybe Tobor is not totally sure, because it could have just been an offhanded comment in passing, but it's one of those offhanded comments in passing that has a little bit of context into what's going on with you right now.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not sure.
I'll do the laugh chuckle at his wry expression.
Yeah.
And
So,
depart.
all right.
And I sufficiently, minimally, politely nod my head at Shraz and Jamal. And though Jamal hasn't really earned any of my ire other than the fact that he's just associated with Shraz.
Sure, yeah. You try to make eye contact and do the kind of head nod their
Yeah.
way, and their antennas twitch and they turn their backs and continue their conversations. They're speaking in Andorian about Andorian things, so they don't acknowledge such things. So,
Yeah.
complaining about the room being too warm and all that.
And then I'll catch the fleet captain before he slides out of the room. And
Sure, yeah. So you want to catch him while it's kind of still in the conference room here with everybody else, or do you want to try to catch him by himself?
no, I'll just catch him in the conference
Yep.
room with everyone and
Fabulous.
introduce myself. And I'm looking forward to an opportunity to work with you.
Yeah.
Admiral Tovek has spoken very highly of you, and everything I have heard about your past exploits has been glowing. And I look forward to coming to understand what your vision is for the fleet.
I greatly appreciate your desire to work together.
Thank you, sir.
I think that there is a tremendous amount of good work that can be done if all of us are working together.
I agree that can occur, though I will once again quote Admiral Picard in that sometimes there can be too many cooks in the kitchen.
Correct. I do not plan on having too many cooks in the kitchen. There is one cook, and I expect those who work my line, I guess to use the phrase, I expect them to execute to the parameters that I lay out. I expect you to go ahead and hold your ship to the same standard.
I look forward to coming to understand all of the nuances of that standard.
I am not known for nuance, Captain.
But the galaxy is, sir.
Perhaps there has been too much nuance.
It is a delicate balance, I will agree.
Hmm.
That's what keeps it fun.
Is that what we're doing here, Captain? Are we having fun?
Amongst other things, if you do not enjoy your work, then what is the point in a post-scarcity society?
Perhaps I shall have to read up more on this fun.
Yes. Then I shall not take up any more of your valuable time, sir.
Dismissed.
Then I am off to docking pylon 6. I tap my comm badge and I'm like, Tanari and Nilan, meet me in the turbo lift to docking pylon 6.
I do have to laugh. Lacey, you look like you're just like turning yourself inside out with my depiction of the fleet captain down there. I feel like you've known people like that.
I feel like the peanut gallery, and I just have so many things I want to be like, that's not how it works.
I like to flip open my pad and I'm like, note to self, always bring Beta Z with me.
Maybe she and I should dress up like Statler and Waldorf.
Wait, aren't you all ready? Oh, never mind. All right, you ping these guys and ask them to meet you at Docking Pylon 6.
Yep.
And because Docking Pylon 6 is where, when you had read into it, that the station was reporting the Penumbra was going to be docked.
Do we get a chance to run down to the lab to try the trick with the little subroutine and the file she had?
That would be up to Captain Tobor. How would you like to play that? Would you like to ask him if you can do that first, or do you want to meet him at Docking Pylon 6 and read him into what you're doing?
I suppose the answer to that is there was not time to do that before we get his message.
Yeah, I would say that the promotion ceremony and the work that you and Narila were doing were very much happening in parallel with one another. So you receive his message at the end of the work that you were doing, talking with Narila about the stellar drift pattern and everything like that. So assume that everybody now is caught up and at the same moment in time.
Since Pylon 6 came up in our conversation, I'll wait to tell him in person.
Fair enough.
Is it true that I was told
That's correct. So Navi Rez was a name that appeared in some of the swapping of the files that you had done. Basically, when her personnel file was accessed, she is a crew member on the USS Penumbra and reports to Captain Eben Thorne, which you guys both know as a fake ship with a fake name.
Did we know that it was a fake ship?
searching for her, and
Yeah.
they were like, the ship was not there.
At least that the ship is not there. And that, but Tobor definitely knows that Eben Thorne is an alias. So the question is whether or not this mysterious USS Penumbra is going to show up or not, I guess. Is that the question that you're currently running with?
What is currently at Pylon 6?